It's Friday, September 18th. Thanks for clicking on the Morning Swim Show. The Swimming World television crew is still here in Chicago, Illinois at the United States Aquatic Sports Convention. We've had a busy day. We've talked to a whole gamut of people. It started with a bunch of Paralympians, very inspirational interviews with a few Paralympians. We also talked to Fullerton/Orange County All-Stars head coach Sean Hutchison, fresh out of the steering committee meeting. We talked to a group of the athlete representatives here at USAS, had some really cool perspective on what the athletes need and what the future holds for some of our United States Olympic athletes and just the athletes in general. It was such a crazy day. We even had a visit from the Navy. So it's been a busy day. We've pieced together some highlights from each one of those interviews for you to check out now. And we highly encourage you to go check out Swimming World Television to see those interviews at full length. Without further ado, here's some snippets from each one of the interviews from our very busy day here in Chicago. Talk about how goals change from pre-2008 to post-2008 and how your approach to the sport has changed, if it has at all.
It has. I'm much more determined now. I take it a little bit more seriously. Before I still swim because I love it, but there weren't any long-term goals for me. It was just, I'm doing this, it's high school swimming. I've swam club since I was 7. I've swam for years, but it was just for fun. There was never the pressure of, you have to make state or you have to make zones. My parents just were yeah, whatever, go to practice when you want. But now I'm much more focused on it, and it's changed. It brings a whole new aspect of things. I'm challenged every day. I'm out of my chair and I'm in the pool, and I don't know. It's different now, and I like having that challenge, that every day, continuing. It helps me move forward with things.
Disability Swimmer of the Year, is that the category you fell under?
Yes, female athlete, or female with a disability.
Yes. Where were you when you found out about that?
I was, actually it's kind of a funny story and sad story at the same time. A dear friend and coach passed away this summer, and so I was actually missed the ESPYs to attend the...
you're referring to Jimmy Flowers.
To Jimmy Flowers, and so I chose to go to his memorial services and be there, and with teammates and friends and everybody. And so we decided to go out for a drink to cheers to Jimmy. And so we were having a great time sharing stories. And somebody across the table goes, "Erin, have you heard?" And I said, "No." And I looked at my phone and I go, "I won!" Because a friend of mine was there and had texted me. And so we all cheersed and had a great celebration. So it was cool to be able to share it with a lot of different people.
Oh, and if Jimmy was there, he would have just been ecstatic.
Yeah, I kind of think he was kicking me. He would have been kicking me in the head for not going, but for me at the time, it was the right place to be. And it was a great memory to be able to share it with those guys that were there.
Even though it's under different circumstances, Coach's ability is sometimes universal in the way that he relates to his swimmers. Talk about Jimmy's ability, and if you have any stories that come to mind right away, his ability to relate with the swimmers.
Well, I don't really have any specific stories off the top of my head, just because if I did, it would run really long. So, but I was talking with one of my fellow athletes' father yesterday, and we were kind of talking about how she was doing, and he kind of said that not to detract from the way that we raised her, but she kind of feels like she lost a father, and that's kind of the way that we all looked at it, when we went out there, we kind of felt like we had just lost, our dad, Jimmy, we all kind of really looked up to, and he really kind of was just someone that was always there, always really smiling, and always trying, just kind of made your day better just being around him, And we would always go out and do activities. He'd take us for ice cream if we reached certain goals on our meets and stuff. So I don't know. He was just a really good guy and a really good coach. And, we're really going to miss him.
Switching from the club program to a post-grad program, and by the way, congratulations. I don't know if this is your first on-camera interview, but
I think it is.
Congratulations for those of you guys who have been under a rock or something. Sean is taking over the Orange County All-Stars down in Fullerton. Is that right?
That's what we're thinking of calling it. Yep.
Post-grad team down in Orange County, and as you transition into this post-grad lead role, you had a great question today was he the GM of the New York Giants on the steering? Is he at the
He's
table?
the doctor for the New York Giants.
And your question was, do your athletes work harder now as professionals than they did as college athletes? And his answer was absolutely. Right. Sometimes the thought in swimming is that the older you get, the less you have to work to accomplish more.
Right.
But with a perspective like that from a sport that is so physically taxing, does that make you believe that maybe they're onto something and that those post-grads maybe need to be working harder than some of the younger swimmers?
That was actually a setup. I was looking for that answer and expecting that that's what he would say, because, I do think it's something that even if it's done differently, it has to be harder, or something has to be better than it was ever in their career. Mm-hmm. Either the mental aspect, they're stronger, they're technically better, but something has to improve for them to improve. It's illogical to think otherwise, regardless of age. And you look at the guys in a sport that's developed like the NFL. My fanship of the NFL is pretty old, so I'm thinking of guys like Jerry Rice, who was a great receiver for years. He was the best in the game for a really long time, also known as the hardest worker. Mm-hmm. And he was kind of the first guy who trained all year, even though he played the normal season. He would go and just go back to work in the springtime and stay in shape so he could stay ahead as he got older. And I think, our sport's a little younger in the professional sense, or a lot younger in the professional sense, and those are the things we need to look to see the direction that it's going to end up. And the people who adopt that will have a long, successful professional career, and those that don't probably won't.
It's kind of unlikely to see you here, but then I can kind of piece it all together. We're a part of the aquatic community, and in some ways we're blood brothers.
Well, we're here because our 5 communities that we're involved in are very heavily water-oriented. We do quite a bit of swimming, so we're in the water quite a bit.
We'll talk about training in a little bit, but for right now, you mentioned 5 communities. What are those 5 communities?
We have SEAL, Diver, EOD, SWIC, which is our special boat teams, and Air Rescue.
Okay. And when you're talking with young swimmers, or not, what age do you start talking to them about the Navy?
We start probably targeting people. Okay. We start targeting people around 15, 16. Try to talk to them for a couple of years, see if they're interested, but mainly high school.
Okay.
Last year.
And when you're talking to them, you're just talking to them about a career in the Navy, or you're just talking about coming in and being a part of one of your special forces. Let's just say the SEALs right now. And what's the approach, and what type of person are you looking for?
We're looking for somebody who definitely wants a challenge, somebody who pushes himself on a daily basis. We're not looking for the average individual. Our programs have a very high attrition rate. So we're looking for generally the top of whatever sport we're targeting. So swimmers for us are high. We have a lot of swimmers, a lot of people in the SEALs that have a swimming background.
As opposed to setting up centers of excellence, why not just set funding for certain athletes to go where they choose to go, as opposed to saying this is where you can go, this is where you can go? Why not just take some funding and say, oh, you want to go to this school instead? Go here. Or not this school, but maybe this club team instead, then go there. Mm-hmm. Is there...
Well, I mean, that's one way to look at it for sure. One thing I'd say is that, building a center like this, maybe basing it around a coach, bringing more swimmers together. And I think that's a model that could be done that way as well. But this way, you're bringing a lot of swimmers together with the same goals in mind, the same training situations. Kind of makes a little more sense than trying to send people in different directions.
I think, Garrett, that we have some programs within USA Swimming, athlete funding programs that help to allow them to reach their goals. But to take the sort of numbers of dollars that we're talking about with the Centers of Excellence, they're not great enough to really distribute over a large number of athletes. And so the best use of those dollars is to put them into a coach that we as a country believe in, and to create an environment there to help out a greater number of athletes. I think it's the best bang for the buck. Yeah.